You know when the wind begins to gather, the storm is never far. Prince Arinze, disguised as a poor farmer, had found Adesi, a maiden whose heart seems true, but shadows were closing in. Chike, the proud trader, was determined to take Adesi for himself. The villagers whispered against the stranger in the mist, and worst of all, Okoro, a palace guard, had discovered Arinze's secrets and was ready to sell it for gold. The weight was heavy on Arinze's shoulders. He wanted to tell Adesi the truth about who he was, but fear gripped him. If she knew he was a prince, would she still love him, or would her eyes change, just like the others, and see all the crown? Days passed and Okoro kept visiting him in the night, pressing him for bribes. "Give me gold," the guards whispered, "or I will shout your secret to the whole world." But Arinze had nothing with him. He had left the palace with only a few coins. He begged Okoro to give him time. Okoro laughed. "I will give you time, but not forever. The king grows restless and Chike is already suspicious of you. If you are not careful, your little game will soon end." Arinze's heart pounded each time he saw Okoro. Betrayal caught him deep, but worst was the storm brewing with Chike. One evening, Chike marched into Adesi's compound, carrying gifts, wrappers, jewelries, and jars of palm wine. He placed them before Adesi's father. "Take this," he said proudly. "I am ready to marry your daughter. End this foolishness and give her to me." Adesi's father, weary from poverty, looked at the gift with longing. His eyes shone with temptation, but Adesi stood tall. "Father," she said firmly, "I will not marry him. I do not love him." Chike's face darkened. "Then who do you love?" His eyes darted towards Arinze, who was standing quietly nearby. "This beggar? This wanderer? You shame yourself. Adesi, you shame your family." The villagers gathered quickly, their voices rising. Some supported Chike, saying Adesi was foolish to reject a rich man. Others pitied her, whispering that she was wasting her youth on a stranger whose past no one knew. Arinze wanted to shout, to tell them he was not a beggar but a prince, but he bit his tongue. The time was not yet right. Chike, furious, pointed at Arinze. "If you are truly a man, prove yourself. Show us who you are, or leave this village and never return." The crowd cheered, clapping and mocking Arinze. Their laughter caught him like a knife, but Adesi's hand touched his arm gently. "Do not let them push you," she whispered. "I know who you are in my heart. That is enough for me." But my people, was that truly enough? For the world outside did not see hearts. It saw status, wealth, and pride. The tension grew worse when Okoro, the palace guard, visited Chike secretly. Greed joined with pride, and together they brewed a wicked plan. Okoro whispered to Chike, "That stranger you hate so much, he is not who he says he is. He is the missing prince of AKA Kingdom." Chike's eyes widened in shock. "The prince? Are you sure?" Okoro smiled wickedly. "Yes, I saw him grow up in the palace. I know his face. He thinks he is clever, hiding in poor clothes, but he cannot hide from me." Chike's chest swelled with evil delight. "If he is truly the prince, then I have him in my trap. If I expose him, the whole village will know he lied. Adesi will see that he deceived her, and when her heart breaks, she will have no choice but to marry me." Okoro nodded. "Expose him if you wish, but do not forget me. I must have my share of the reward. The two shook hands, sealing their wicked plans. The next market day, Chike struck. The whole village gathered together at the square, trading yams, pepper, and goats. Drummers beat their drum, women sang, and children danced. Chike was walking quietly with Adeze when Chike leaped onto a wooden platform and shouted, my people, open your ears and hear the truth." The drumming stopped. All eyes turned to him. Chike pointed at Arinze, his voice ringing through the air. "This man, this so-called poor traveler, he lied to us all. He is no beggar. He is Prince Arinze, son of King Obieze. He has been deceiving you, pretending to be one of us, but in truth, he is the heir to the throne." Gasps filled the air. People looked at Arinze in shock. Whispers spread like fire. The missing prince? Could it be true? Arinze froze, his heart thundering. Adeze's eyes widened, confusion flashing across her face. Chike pressed on, his words sharp as knives. "Ask yourself, why does he wander with soft hands? Why does he speak with the tongue of the palace? Why does he hide his past? Because he wanted to fool Adeze. He played with her heart, making her believe he was poor, but in truth, he is a liar." The crowd roared. Some shouted angrily at Arinze, others bowed low, realizing he was indeed the prince. Confusion and chaos swept through the square. Arinze raised his hands, his voice calm but heavy. "It is true. I am Prince Arinze, son of King Obieze. I left the palace because I wanted to find true love. I wanted a woman who would love me for who I am, not for the crown. That is why I came here in disguise." The people murmured. Some nodded in respect, others still angry, but the one whose face mattered was Adeze. She looked at him, her eyes filled with pain. You lied to me." Her voice trembled. "All this time, you hid the truth. You let me believe you were poor when you were a prince." Arinze stepped forward. "Dark spirit, Adeze, I did not lie to hurt you. I only wanted to be sure. I needed to know if you loved me without the crown. That is why I hid it." Tears welled in her eyes. She shook her head. "But you did not trust me with the truth. You tested me like a game. My heart is not a game, Arinze." The villagers watched in silence as Adeze turned and ran away. Her sobs breaking the air, Arinze stood rooted, his chest aching as though a spear had pierced him. Chike smirked in triumph. His plan had worked. He walked proudly among the people, saying, "You see, the prince is a deceiver, but I, Chike, have always been honest. I am the one who deserves Adeze." Chike clenched his fist, but there was nothing he could do, for though he had won battles on the farm, and though he had endured mockery from the people, this battle was different. This was the battle of the heart, and in this battle, he had lost. That night, the prince sat alone under the stars, his heart broken. "Maybe I was a fool," he whispered. "Maybe true love does not exist. Maybe every heart is poisoned by the sight of the crown. But my people, life has a way of testing us to the edge before it shows us the light." Though Adeze's heart was broken, though Chike was rejoicing, the story was far from over. For truth, like fire hidden under ashes, cannot stay buried forever. And soon, that truth will rise again, burning brighter than the sun. The truth was now out. Prince Arinze's disguise had been torn away. The villagers had seen him for who he truly was, the heir to the throne of AKA Kingdom. Some bowed before him, Others accused him of lies, but the one whose heart he cared for most, Adaeze, had run away in tears. That night, the whole village buzzed like a disturbed behavior. Some said he is a deceiver. He played with Adaeze's heart. Others said no, he is wise. For how else can a prince find true love if not through these guys? But in Adaeze's heart, there was only silence and pain. She sat by the fire, her tears falling freely. Her father entered, his eyes troubled. "My daughter," he said gently, "you should be rejoicing. The man you love is not a poor stranger, but a prince. He will make you a queen. Our family will never suffer again." But Adaeze shook her head, her voice breaking. "Father, do you not see? He did not trust me with his truth. He made my love into a test, as if I am some riddle to be solved. How can I marry a man who hides his heart from me?" His father sighed deeply. "Child, love is never simple. Sometimes it comes wrapped in pain. But remember, not all secrets are meant to harm. Some are carried to protect." Adaeze said nothing. She turned her face away, her heart torn between anger and love. Meanwhile, back in the palace, King Obieze finally heard the news. His son had been found in a village, living as a common man. Rage and relief battled inside him. He sent his guards to fetch Arinze at once. When Arinze entered the palace again, no longer in rags, but in the royal robes they forced upon him, the court erupted in cheers. "The prince has returned," they shouted. Drummers beat their drums, women danced, and warriors raised their spears. But inside Arinze's heart, there was no joy. His thoughts were only on Adaeze. The king looked at him sternly. "My son, you have shamed this family by running away like a thief in the night. But now you are back. It is time to marry properly. Princesses from far await you." Arinze bowed his head. "Father, forgive me, but I cannot marry for crown alone. My heart belongs to Adaeze." The court gasped. The king's face hardened. "Adaeze, a poor farmer's daughter? You would bring her into this palace as queen?" "Yes, father," Arinze said firmly, "because her heart is pure. She loved me when she thought I was nothing. This is the kind of love I want." But not everyone agreed. Some chiefs muttered angrily. Chike, who had secretly followed to the palace, stepped forward and shouted, "This girl is not worthy of the throne. She rejected me, a wealthy trader, only to chase after a man she thought was poor. She is stubborn and proud. How can she rule with the king?" The court erupted in noise. Some supported Chike, others supported the prince. Finally, King Obieze raised his staff and silence fell. "If this Adaeze is truly worthy," the king declared, "then let her be tested before the council. We shall see if her heart is fit to sit on the throne beside my son." Messengers were sent to fetch Adaeze. She arrived at the palace trembling, her eyes lowered. For the first time, she stood before the king and his council, before princes, chiefs, and nobles. She wore a simple cloth, nothing like the jeweled maiden around her, but her beauty shone even brighter in her humility. The king looked at her sharply. "Adaeze, daughter of a farmer, do you love my son?" Adaeze's voice shook, but was steady. "Yes, my king, I love him." "Even when you thought he was poor?" he asked again. "Yes," she replied firmly. "I love him when he was a stranger. I love him when the whole village mocked him. I loved him because his heart was kind, not because of his crown." Murmurs filled the wall. Some chiefs nodded in respect, but Chike was not done. He stepped forward and shouted, "Lies! She is saying this because she has seen the palace. She has tested power. If the prince had truly remained poor, she would have left him. The king raised his eyebrows. And how did you know? And how do you prove this? Chike smiled cunningly. Test her, my king. Take away the promise of the crown. Ask her to marry the prince as a common man. If she still agrees, then perhaps her love is true. But if she refuses, then she has been exposed as a liar. The hall buzzed again. The test was dangerous, but it was fair. The king turned to Adeze. If my son were never a prince, if he remained a poor man with nothing to give, would you still marry him? Arinze's eyes filled with tears. She turned to Arinze, her heart burning with pain and love. Slowly, she spoke. Yes, I would still marry him because when I looked at him, I did not see gold. I saw kindness. I did not see power. I saw humility. Riches fade, crowns fall, but love that is true cannot die. The hall went silent. Even the drummers forgot to drum. The chiefs exchanged glances, shocked by her courage. The king's eyes softened. He leaned back on his throne, studied her, then slowly he began to smile. At last, he said, "A woman who sees beyond the crown." Chike's face twisted with rage. He shouted, "No, this cannot be. She must have bewitched you all." In his anger, he tried to rush forward, but the guards seized him and dragged him out. His cries echoed as he was thrown from the palace. The king stood, raising his staff. "Let it be known across the land, Prince Arinze shall marry Adeze. She, who loved without knowing the crown, shall be our queen." Cheers erupted in the palace. Drums thundered, flutes sang, and the people danced. Arinze turned to Adeze, his eyes shining with tears. He took her hands gently. "Forgive me," he whispered. "Forgive me for hiding my truth. I only wanted to be sure." Adeze looked at him with soft eyes. "My heart was broken, Arinze, but love meant what is broken. I forgive you." And there, in front of the court, they embraced. The wedding that followed was the grandest aka kingdom had ever seen. The palace was decorated with palm fronds and flowers, and the air filled with music and laughter. Adeze walked into the hall, no longer the poor farmer's daughter, but the chosen queen. And as she stood beside Arinze, the people saw not just a prince and his bride, but two hearts that has conquered lies, betrayal, and pride. My people, the story of Prince Arinze teaches us something. True love is not about crown or gold. It is about seeing the soul beneath the clothes, the heart beneath the face. And when love is true, no disguise, no betrayal, no rumor can destroy it. And so ends the tale of the hidden prince, a love beyond the crown.